Thank you both to Amy and Kimberly for taking this time to meet with me today, because as small business owners and small business advocates, learning all of the different options and opportunities that are there for us is such a huge world. And there, it's just like being able to realize and learn what is available for women entrepreneurs is very important. So I want to thank you two for doing the work that you're doing, to letting small business owners like myself understand and learn that there are credits, that taxes that I have been paying that I can get back. And so that's really where I want to talk to you both about today, and see where we can share this knowledge to get it out to other women entrepreneurs like ourselves. Amy, I know you also had a business, and I hear it was shut down or from the pandemic,
Yeah,
just like mine, for over 2-3 years.
exactly.
So, me getting back into it is really where my focus is, and really just having to restructure and pivot and not rely on grants and loans. So that's where I really found this bucket of, hey, what about the tax refund that I am owed? Why am I letting this money just sit on the table or sit out somewhere in the world when it really belongs to me? And so I just would love it if you kind of give like a quick little overview on what we're talking about, this ERC, Employee Retention Credit, if you don't mind.
Yeah, I'd be happy to. So the employee retention credit is what it sounds like. It's actually a tax credit. It's not a loan like PPP was. It's not a grant like some of the other COVID grants programs that were out there. So this is actually money that, as a business owner, you've already paid the money to the IRS through your payroll tax return, and you can get a chunk of that money back. And it's mainly based on what happened during COVID. So the program was designed to reward businesses that decided to do the right thing and keep their employees employed and working during COVID, but yet at the same time, they were suffering either a revenue reduction due to COVID, or maybe the government shut down their business and forced them either to close, or maybe they limited their capacity. So you have to kind of prove that you were somehow affected by COVID and that you also kept the employees on the payroll. So it's a rebate or a tax credit, and it's in the form of a check that comes to your business, and you can use it on anything that you'd like. So there's no restrictions.
And I just wonder, why aren't people taking more advantage of it? Is it because dealing, with government issues is so kind of like overwhelming, which I know as a small business owner, I'm on, we spoke about this a little bit earlier before the call, was the government. Anytime you want to get any sort of credit or, grant, you have to be on the government website, and navigating that is, people almost would say it's not worth it unless I have someone on staff that can just deal with that. And
Yeah.
that's essentially what you do, is you work for me, and the money that I get potentially from this credit, from this refund, you get a percentage, so nothing comes out of my pocket.
Correct.
And that's the way I really love working. It's
Yeah.
like, you don't get paid until my house is sold.
Exactly. Yeah, there's really no risk to you as the business owner. And the cool thing is it feels like a partnership, right? We're in this with you, and we'll do all the work. And if you don't end up getting the credit, then you don't owe us anything. So it's a zero risk proposition. So yeah, that model really works well for this.
I love that business model. I mean, it's probably not the greatest on your end, because then you do all this work, and if something doesn't work out, but
yeah.
So for a typical company, can you kind of give an idea of what the refund looks like and how much I could expect?
Yeah, I'm sure most of you all had received phone calls, emails, text messages from all these ERC companies out there. So most of the time, people are throwing out these large numbers. They're saying, oh, you can get 26,000 for every employee, and they keep it like very vague. So that is true. You could potentially get up to 26,000 per W-2 employee. But in order to qualify for that max amount, number one, you need to have your workers all be full-time. So they have to be 30 hours a week or more. Number two, you would have to show a revenue reduction for all 6 quarters during COVID. So it's a 6-quarter program. We're looking at 3 quarters of 2020, basically right when COVID started, which was around March. And so we'll look through March till the end of 2020, and then we'll also look at your revenues in the first 3 quarters of 2021. So it's a 6-quarter program. So if you want to max out at that 26K, you have to prove that your revenues were down all 6 quarters. And then the third thing that you need to prove is that in order to get 26, you have to have not taken PPP. So to answer your question from a few minutes ago, why are people not taking advantage of this program? One of the main reasons is when this program was launched at the beginning of COVID, it was launched at the same time as PPP. It was part of the CARES Act, the first big package that was passed by Congress, and it was very restrictive. So they were basically telling business owners, you have to choose between PPP or ERC. You cannot do both programs. So majority of all business owners chose PPP for obvious reasons. It's easy. You don't have to worry about amending your taxes. It was pretty streamlined and simple to get. So almost all business owners just passed and didn't even look at the ERC program. But since then, the program's gone through 4 changes or iterations. And the most recent change, which was about a year ago, they allowed business owners to now apply for ERC, even if they had received PPP. So that's why it feels like the floodgates have suddenly opened. And now everyone wants to get their hands on this money because the PPP is no longer a factor. I will say the only factor with PPP is you can't double dip on wages with federal programs. So because let's say you got PPP first round and you use three or 24 weeks of payroll, you cannot use that same 24 weeks of payroll for ERC. So that's why this gets really complicated, is that we actually have to go in not only and analyze your financials, but then we have to go into your PPP documents and figure out how did you calculate your forgiveness, which quarters or weeks did you use? And then we have to make sure we're not double dipping. So we're very, very careful to keep everything super buttoned up because the IRS will be looking at these. They're going to probably be looking at these for the next 5 years, all COVID programs in general, and auditing and making sure that everyone's following the rules. So I guess to wrap all that up, our average client is getting somewhere between, I would say, 15 to 20,000 per employee. So our average client is usually in the 10, 15 to 20, 25 employees. So it looks like I would say our average credit's around 200 to 250,000 right now, which is substantial.
For a small business, definitely,
Yeah.
that was hurt,
Yep.
And what do you need to apply? Like if I'm planning on going through this. So, working through this in real time.
Right.
I don't want to do it myself. That's for sure.
Yeah. It's kind of a nightmare.
Yeah. I don't need any more
Yeah.
of that. And how long do I have to apply and what do you need from me?
Yeah, great question. So we have a document list that we would collect from you. So the main thing that we start with is we have to dig in and look at your revenues because there is a revenue reduction requirement. So we have to use 2019 revenues as a baseline, and then we're going to compare your revenues during COVID to 2019 to see how was your business affected by COVID. So we look at your revenues broken down by quarter, and each quarter is analyzed individually. And for 2020, you have to show a pretty substantial reduction. So they want to see at least 50% reduction in revenue in order to qualify for that year. Luckily for 2021, they they lowered that revenue reduction to 20%. So it's much easier to qualify in 2021. And the cool thing is the most of the money in this program is actually geared towards 2021. So businesses can get up to 7,000 every quarter for every employee in 2021 for the first 3 quarters. So that's kind of how that breaks down. So we look at your revenues, and then we also look at your PPP loan forgiveness application. And then we want to dig in and really look at your payroll. This is a payroll program. So we need to look at your 941 payroll tax returns that either you file yourself or your payroll provider. If you use like Gusto or ADP or Paychecks, that would come from them. And then we also want to look at a very detailed payroll summary that outlines all the employees, who was paid, when, how many hours, and then we really like analyze that. I mean, we create this massive spreadsheet and we do a calculation literally for every single employee, for every single paycheck, and we break it down. So it's very tedious. And then once we look at those things, the last thing is the W-2s. We want to look at like how much each person made for the entire year. And then after that, it's basically, 2 weeks of analysis and calculations that the CPAs do. And then they actually will go in and amend your tax returns for you on the payroll side. So that's what you need. And then timeline, right now, there's another year left with this program for the 2020 quarters. So we have until April of 2024 to qualify for 2020 quarters. And then 2021 quarters expire in April of 2025. But that being said, we all know how the government likes to make changes. And so there's no guarantee that they won't pull the plug on this entire program in, 3 months from now, because we've seen that it happened with PPP. They ended that program like abruptly. So
don't wait on it. Let's get going.
Don't wait on it. Act like the deadline is in, 60 days from now, because this is money that's like free money in your pocket that you've already paid the government. They're just giving it back to you.
Okay. Well, and whoever's watching this, you can either just like reach out to me directly and I can put you in touch, but I'll have a link so that you can go directly to where you need to be in touch with everybody. I'm just here sharing this information. And I want everybody to take advantage of it, because as a small business owner, having to get loans that we have to pay back and grants that, have so much work involved, this is a no-brainer, and work smart, not harder. And the other probably last question, since I would like to keep it short, because I know you guys are really busy. You've got a lot of paperwork to go through. Small businesses. I sit on the board of a lot of nonprofits. And as a board member, we're always looking at ways of, getting some more funds for the programs that we're actually doing, and putting that money back into, where we are, why we're here, and why we're doing what we're doing. Mm-hmm. And so are you saying that nonprofits can also take advantage of this?
Yep. Yeah. Nonprofits are eligible. I've had tons and tons of nonprofit clients, and they're so grateful. So yes, absolutely.
Okay. That would be really good to know, because I think there's a lot of people, especially, in the Southern California area. That's where we're calling from right now. And I think you guys are based in Southern California. Is that right?
Yeah, a lot of our team is here in Southern California, and then we have a few, across the country as well.
Okay. Well, if there's something I missed, please let me know, but it just seems like such a great, I get a lot of texts from some other people that I don't really know. And like you said earlier, it's like some of those businesses might not be around. You guys have been doing this for a very long time. Yep. And, I trust that history and knowledge. So I would choose to go, with you, other than someone else that might not have the history and the, success rate as well.
Exactly. Yeah. And just to recap our company name, we're Get My Funds. And so you're going to put your link in the chat so they can contact us. But yeah, we've been around for a couple of years now. Most of us are business owners ourselves, so we understand the struggles of what you all are going through. And yeah, we would love to help anyone or answer questions. I'm happy to talk to anybody. So,
Thank you so much.
mhm,
And maybe we can do this more often just to get, okay, what's the news, what's happening now? And,
absolutely.
what are
Yep.
small businesses needing now? Because that's really, what I want to be more of, sharing all of these things that maybe you don't know about
Right.
that's an offer. So thank you so much for all the work that you do. And maybe we can do this again soon.
Yeah, we would love to. Thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us, Brynn. I appreciate it.
Thanks.
Okay, take care.
You
Bye-bye.
too. Bye.